right? I think we're still waiting on a few segmental representatives. Dr. Sherman, are you here as the MICUA, or is Matt Power joining?
I think Matt is joining, but
there he is, perfect timing. So we have MICUA, we have Dr. Keys. I see Dr. Gantz is just on her way. Dr. Lee, do you know if we have others from USM joining?
You have me today.
Ah, you are our USM representative.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay.
I just left them in a budget meeting.
Ah, very good. And then do we have a MAC representative? I do not see a MAC representative on our screen. Debbie, do you know if MAC is attending today?
I have not heard either way. Sorry, Emily.
No worries. So, Secretary, we could give it one more minute for somebody from Maryland Association of Community Colleges to join us.
Sure. I know Brad was at our summit and he had to leave because of some emergency. So he may be tied up.
Okay. Well, we'll give it one more minute, and then Secretary, you can take us away. Secretary, if you would like to get us started, I think we're good.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your participation at the Higher Education Summit that we are all working together to chart out our path forward for the next 5 to 10 years. I left the university's the Shady Grove campus on Friday evening with a lot of hope and encouragement, with all the guidance and the ideas that came from all of you, and also from folks who presented from the national organizations. As you heard, we have looked at our 2013 goal. We were first in the nation. And as you can see, we have made a lot of progress towards that goal. In 2013, 44% of our population had associate degree or higher. We are almost 51% today, and we are hopeful to be at 53% by 2025. The data comes. So even if we don't reach 55%, think about the progress that we have made. And if we didn't have that kind of goal, I'm not sure if we will make that kind of progress. And what is so special is that at that time, how we went about it, how we set target for every segment, and pretty much everyone exceeded those targets in spite of decline in enrollment. So, this is kudos to great work that's happening on our campuses, our classrooms, faculty, advisors, everyone has contributed to this. But then also we see some opportunities that going forward, what kind of goals are needed. We see some equity issues in the data, and we also look at economic competitiveness issues. We have 8,000 conditionally certified teachers, so we have to find a way, an efficient way of getting them a certification in cost-effective manner, and also in a way so that they can continue teaching our students in our classrooms. If you have to step aside for 3 days a week from the classroom to finish your certification, then it doesn't solve the purpose, right? We see shortages in healthcare, infrastructure, IT, computer science, teaching in all these areas. So equity and economic competitiveness should be guiding us as we set our goals. We are not first in the nation now to set our goals. The last 4 or 5 years, others have made some progress, but we have opportunity to catch up. Through your guidance and guidance of others, labor, commerce, we have 4 kind of ideas, draft ideas. What we want to do in going forward with more collaboration, we kind of solidified, refined those goals, think about what should be baseline data, what should be benchmarks and things like that. So now you will hear more follow-up, reflection report you saw at the summit. You'll get an electronic version, is due on January 31st. My suggestion is we just don't want reflection reports back as if, okay, we did this, right? Do it with conversation on your campuses, conversation with the faculty, staff, conversation with your trustees, because everyone should be aware that this is happening, and everyone has ideas that we want to be incorporating and listening to more and more people so that we define these goals. They're important for next 10 years as higher education community. That's what we will be doing. So let's make sure that we'll be focused on right things that advance equity, things that advance economic competitiveness. And I will leave here. These are, difficult things to do. What we need to do is think about our foundation, recognize that we are strong, and don't destroy that foundation, build upon those foundations. So in order to make progress, disruption is neither necessary nor sufficient. So don't lose what you're doing. We need to just build upon that. So there are different approaches to progress that you are probably watching, but disruption is something we certainly don't want to see. Thank you, and I will give rest of the meeting to Dr. Dow. If you have any questions on what I just said or from the summit, I'm happy to take those questions as well.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. Well, let me say a couple things and then we can open it up for discussion. So just as Secretary Wright noted, we have 2 immediate to-dos that will be coming from our agency. One, we will certainly circulate the reflection prompt. That will be a traditional segmental memo that we will send to segments and ask you to send out to campus presidents. So we'll get that out today for you all so that can be circulated. 2, we will have a website with all of the relevant information. So all of the speaker PowerPoints, all of the handouts electronically accessible. So that is a task for us to do this week. And again, we will alert all of the attendees. That will be an alert to the attendees. So everybody that attended will get an email saying that the website is now active and materials can be accessed that way. So those are our 2 immediate follow-ups in light of last week's Student Success Summit. So let's open it up for any discussion, comments, feedback, and see if there's anything anyone has to say.
I was trying to raise my hand, but I don't see the raised hand immediately. Emily, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr.
Okay.
Keith.
Okay, so I would just say that I attended the event. I thought it was a great event. I was happy to have the chance to meet many of the people here in person that I had not had a chance to meet in person and sit at the tables with them and have it was one of the tables, for example, that I was at had a group of community college leaders, 4-year institution leaders, and I just think it was a great chance to converse about the things that we were trying to work through as far as like the transfer articulation and things like that, that it was a great event. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having it.
And thank you. And Dr. Dow had engineered that so that as you know, our state's capacity for serving students can be significantly increased if we can solve what is called this transfer issue, right? I think this is something, a solvable problem. And if we all work together, we recognize that as a problem, we have ways to address that problem. We are losing students who graduate out of high school, go to other states, but we also lose our community college graduates to other states. And I think there's no reason for us to be in that situation. And thank you, Dr. Keys, for your participation. And thank you for those comments. Thank you.
Great. And I do want to recognize Dr. Randall is here from MAC.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Okay, going once, going twice. Any other comments on the Student Success Summit? More to come. Reflection prompt will come as a segmental memo, and a website will be posted sometime this week. Okay, on to our next agenda item, an update on where we are in collaboration with Census and the PSEO initiative, the Post-Secondary Employment Opportunities Initiative. For those of you who need a refresher on this, MHEC will be working with Census to provide higher education data to better understand employment outcomes, particularly for students who end up getting employment outside of Maryland. So right now, through MLDS initiatives, we are able to see what happens to our Maryland graduates when they are employed here in Maryland. But of course, we are a small state in the 95 Eastern Corridor, and certainly students go all over the country when they graduate. So by participating in this census initiative, our agency and other stakeholders will be able to obtain aggregate level information around what happens to our students when they leave the state when it comes to employment outcomes. So we have a data sharing agreement from Census. It is currently under review with our AGs along with their lawyers, and that is currently in development for negotiation to be able to share our data. It is likely that we will be well on our way to share data in 2025. I want to emphasize that as we understand it, so several other states are engaged in this project. So we are learning, we're in the early stages of engaging with Census, so we're one of the early on takers. So we're trying to understand how states have been able to engage with Census on this work. When we share data with them, it will be an iterative process, meaning that we will create a file that matches to their definitions and their needs. They will review that file, and they will come back to us for any edit checks or changes. So it's not a one and done annual submission. This will be an iterative process over several months to make sure we give them high quality data that they can use and give us reports back. So in addition to the data sharing agreement, we're already underway thinking through data definition that we have capacity, we have ability to have some control over. So for example, historically, if a student has received their associate's degree, their bachelor's degree, and their graduate degree, all from a Maryland institution, which degree do we prioritize when we say you are a Maryland graduate? We have to, Census has been clear, we have to prioritize one Maryland degree. Which one do we prioritize? That's just one example of a data definition, data constraints that we will need to figure out. We will likely be bringing those questions either to the Segmental Advisory Council or to another ad hoc group of experts from campus representation to help work through those issues. So we are working to compile that list of outstanding items that we need to address as we are creating the data file. Finally, if we were to send data today, we would only be able to send 2 years of data. And without getting too much in the weeds, this has to do with the organizations of our systems when it comes to SIP codes, the CIP codes, and the HEGIS codes. So we have a heavy lift to figure out how to merge SIP codes and HEGIS codes so we give the data in the structure that census needs. Census needs zip codes. Historical data for us is organized by HEGIS codes. So we need to do some reorganization on that front. We are working with other states who have had to do a similar reorganization who may not have even adopted the zip code nomenclature. So we're trying to learn from others on how that works. And we understand that there's some national organizations who may be able to provide us some support to do that. So those are the big updates on the PSEO initiative, where we are, what to expect in 2025. At this point, I have full confidence that we will be sharing data in calendar year 25. If nothing else, certainly our last 2 years of data, what we can share right now, as well as making progress in sharing historical data going much further back. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Yes, Executive Director Power, President Power.
Can you just give me a sense of calendar year 2025 is the long year? So do we think early part of 2025, or what is your sense of the MOU getting signed and the easier 2 years worth of data heading over?
Absolutely. So please don't hold me to this. Please don't hold me. But if I were to make a guess right now, end of summer. Again, some of it we do need to convene folks to make sure we're all on the same page. So I see that happening in the spring, and doing the structuring of the data file over and through the summer. So end of summer seems reasonable at this time. Other questions? Yes.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment and an appreciation. I know that this is a heavy lift for you all, but from our perspective, we appreciate what you're doing, and thank you very much for doing this. I think that in the long run, it's going to be an add to the type of data that we do provide for the state. So thank you all for the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited. I think this is it's exciting to be one of the first states. I think only, I don't want to count, but only a few states. If you go up on their website, you can see some systems and some individual institutions are partnering with Census. When it comes to state level data, that's where it's a bit rare. So we really will be able to holistically understand what's happening to students. So thank you. We're excited. Okay. Last call for questions, comments on PSEO. Okay. On to the next agenda item, the Program Review Process Advisory Council. We have our first meeting scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. It's scheduled for an hour, so it's going to be a very quick hour to first establish the council, just have some initial introductions, make sure we're all on the same page. And then we're going to dive right into the draft analysis for unreasonable duplication. It is what we had presented at the October commission meeting, and we will present that to the advisory council for initial thoughts and open discussion. The other big lift that we will need to do administratively is come up with a standing meeting schedule. So we need to talk with the council and figure out what 2025 looks like, if we can set up just a standing monthly meeting, because again, scheduling this first meeting was a bit chaotic and challenging. So if we have a standing meeting, we can maybe work on a on a beat. That's not the right word, but on a cadence. There we go. That we have a meeting cadence for that work and some predictability. So that's what's ahead of us for the Program Review Process Advisory Council. So admittedly, we do not have a second meeting set up, and I'd like to end that meeting knowing how we're going to have the second, third, and additional meetings established. Questions, comments on the Program Review Process Advisory Council meeting? Yes, Dr. Lee.
Yes, I'm wondering if you know now, or if it's a conversation for Wednesday, as to whether new draft regulations on program approval are going to go before this body a few times before it gets to the commission? What's that flow gonna look like?
Ideally, that's exactly what will happen. We want to get the concepts down first, and then we can move into drafting regulations. But yes, this council will be able to review draft regulations before they go to the commission.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, President Power.
Sure. Emily, are you still looking for at-large members? And if so, who should we forward them to?
Yes, we are looking for at-large members. I want to clarify that at Wednesday's meeting, but I can certainly clarify it here. The at-large members are intended to be non-provost or president individuals. So I think we have it listed. We're interested in maybe having a campus attorney. We're interested in department chairs, individuals that may be involved in the program review process, whether it's the development of new academic programs, engagement with our agency at some level. That's the purpose of those 4 slots. So if you have recommendations, please do send them to me, and we can discuss it on Wednesday. And we want it from institutions not already represented. These will be recorded meetings. We will post the recording, so I'll clarify that at Wednesday's meeting as well. They are public meetings.
So Dr. Dow, we have all other membership already identified, right? Okay.
Correct, exactly. Yes, it's those last 4 at-large spots.
So President Powers has already volunteered to help us, right? So.
Right. Great. Last call for questions, comments on the program review process, advice. So I think the shorthand is going to be the PRPAC Council. Great. Pending no other questions, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Coley.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing this morning? I wanted to provide a brief update with respect to the legislative outlook for higher education in the state of Maryland. As many of you all know, the pre-file deadline for bills is actually this week, November 20th, Wednesday, for departmental bills and so forth. And also, looking forward, session begins in earnest on January 8th, the Maryland General Assembly, when it convenes at noon on Wednesday, January 8th. Holidays are fast approaching, as well as the Maryland General Assembly session. I'm going to do a quick screen share for some of you who may be aware with respect to the legislative session, but I want you to see a few important and key dates. So stand by as I do a screen share. All right. And again, January 8th is the actual beginning of the General Assembly session. Budget bill, January 15th, introduced by the governor. Final date for the government-introduced capital budget bill as well, January 15th as well. January 17th, Senate and House bill requests. Guaranteed date, looking forward, 13th day of the Maryland General Assembly. Moving forward to February. Again, February 3rd, 27th day of the General Assembly, Senate bill introduction date. On the 6th, House bill introduction date. It goes in the hopper. And then February 7th, House bill introduction date. And February 16th, 40th day, green bag appointments submitted by the governor for vacancies and so forth. And another key date going forward to March with respect to cross filing. I'll fast forward in the interest of time. Final date to introduce bills without suspension of the rules. Committee reporting on March 11th, and then opposite chamber bill crossover date. A very key date for you all to keep in mind is March 17th, whereby the bills must be cross-filed between the House and the Senate. You know, the recent elections, one of the key things that we are focused on here at the agency is what we just had in terms of our Student Success Summit, degree completion, meaningful credentials, and also looking at research and innovation, that bill is moving forward to allow MHEC to set those goals for the state of Maryland. Secondly, at the federal level, one of the bills that we are closely monitoring is the FAFSA bill with respect to HR. I'm going to share a screen as well with that. We'll stand by. 8932, which actually just passed the House last Friday with a vote of 381 to 1. And that House is now over in the Senate. Senator Cassidy is trying to push that bill through the Senate. This bill will only allow the FAFSA to have a definitive date of October 1st to be made available for students and families. In the state of Maryland, we're looking at discussions that some of the legislators are having regarding making the FAFSA completion mandatory for high school seniors. We'll continue to monitor that. One of the chief delegates who's discussed this over the summer is Delegate Jared Solomon in the state of Maryland. Looking ahead, with the new administration coming in under President-elect Trump, we know that we do not have someone who's been designated as a Secretary of Education. However, we know from the prior administration under President-elect Trump, there's more state control with respect to federal involvement. Secondly, one of the largest issues that came to light under the prior administration was Title IX protections. And so we'll wait and see. We know that President Biden, when he came in, and in effect, reversed those concerns from the prior administration. So we'll wait and see what happens going forward in terms of executive orders to look at Title IX to make sure those protections are in place. However, even in the state of Maryland, we do have legislation in place that does provide stronger protections for those individuals who come forward with respect to sexual harassment and sexual assault claims on campuses and so forth. And with that, I'll pause and open the floor for any questions that you all may have. Yes, security.
Derek, did you say, I may have missed some of it, that there's a bill going forth from MHEC and something about the goals? Could you repeat what you said?
Yes,
Okay.
we do have a bill, and it's looking at degree completion, meaningful credentials, and also research and innovation goals.
Okay.
So just to clarify here, this may be causing a confusion that we are still, these are still draft goals. We haven't finalized them. So what does this bill means, right? So what this bill says is that MHEC will work with the group, with the higher education and other stakeholders, and will come up with the goals. It's not that these are the goals; they are final.
Okay.
Right. I'm glad you asked that question. Again, let me clarify again. These are draft goals. They are not final until we finish all the things that we talked about, reflection report, all other things. These are not, this is only giving MHEC, asking MHEC to work with all of you around these ideas. Derek, can we make sure that bill language and everything is consistent with what we are saying?
Absolutely, it is, Secretary. Yes, sir.
Matt?
So it will not replace the current statutory 2025 goals. It will be in addition to them to develop the next.
Yeah. So
Yes.
the way I perceive is that MHEC will be asked to do this, and we will work with everyone. And maybe spring 26, we go with the bills that we have. I mean, the goals that we will finalize, or they may not be need to go again and make them through a bill. We'll figure that out, what's needed. But at this point, again, let me make this absolutely clear. This is just MHEC will be working with higher education institutions and other stakeholders to come up with these goals that are in, what we have discussed in the draft state. They will not be the final goal. Just asking MHAC to work all with the higher education institutions to come finalize these goals or come up with next set of goals. Derek, make sure that you take input from everyone who is here so there is no confusion on the bill.
Yes, sir.
And can you say a little bit more, I'm sorry, about, so Matt's question about timing and the current goals. And I know you addressed the secretary, but I think I need a little more clarification.
Yes.
So what's the draft information in the bill wouldn't kick in, so to speak, until 2026?
Yeah, so I think the current goal was set for 2025. And right now, we don't know where we'll be in 2025. We know we are at 51% or so, based on 23 data, right, Dr. Dow? 23 is it? So,
Right.
So by 2025, we will know that number in 26, where we are in 25. So 26 will be the time to bring a bill on exactly finalized goals, and this gives us time for next 1 year or so. We will not take it all 1 year, but 6, 7 months, 8 months to finalize these draft goals that are in front of us. Derek, is that clear?
Absolutely.
Okay, so make sure the way you presented it created just a little bit of a confusion. It sounded as if we have finalized the goal and this is going to become a bill. So let's make very clear that this is just asking us to work with institutions and come up with.
Apologies, Mr. Secretary. I'm not trying to beat in the ground, but if the bill doesn't give you any additional authority, and you're already working with the higher education community, is there a reason to put a bill in? If we could just work together over the next year and then put a bill in, we finalized what the 2030 goals are.
There are let me take one crack. So several, first alerting everyone that we are already working on it. So, when session starts, a lot of individual bills start coming up as people start thinking about things, right? So this is kind of giving advance notice, hey, we are already working on all these things. And also, it's good before you're told what to do, take the matters in your own hand and just start working together. So we come up with goals that more appropriate, that we think we are more appropriate, that kind of thing. Other states have all kind of things. We don't want to be dealing with several different bills in this coming session around these goals. So, hey, we are working on it. So just a notice, and then we are given authority again to develop the bills and bring it in the next 26 assembly session. Is that clear to everyone? Any confusion? I just want to make sure that it's absolutely clear. These goals are draft goals. We are not going with a bill to finalize this through General Assembly. Matt, you clear? Okay. If anyone has any confusion, I will give you my cell number so that I can answer. The bill language will be just that higher education institutions have been asked to work on around these 4 ideas, but they are not the final ideas. They're all draft right now.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And also, we want to have some say in how we set the benchmark and all that, is because we are the experts, right? We need to be doing this ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Coley, for that, for those updates. Any other questions on legislative initiatives and what to expect for our upcoming session? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is our post-2025 goals and what we're doing administratively. For those of you who attended the Student Success Summit, we shared established 2025 meeting dates I will share my screen so that you all see these. We do ask that you save the dates. The goals and the revision to the state plan for higher education are intertwined. They complement each other and they will feed each other. So as we are refining the post-2025 goals, we will be working to draft the next iteration of the state plan for higher education. So these are the dates, the meeting dates for 2025. It's basically on an every 3-week schedule, with some exception in the summer months, to keep the cadence going. You can see that we have specific meeting topics for discussion so that you don't have to attend every one of these meetings, and the people who need to attend specific discussions should attend those specific discussions. We have our kickoff that will be in person on April 24th. The additional in-person meetings, we will have locations, and so I ask our segmental leaders, if you have an institution that is willing to host, please let me know for any one of these meetings. We would love to meet on a campus. Please let me know. So this is our next step for the post-2025 goals. We've heard loud and clear that we need to talk about defining a credential of value, what that looks like, both a conceptual definition as well as a metric, what we know about specific programs of study. We also need to talk about equity initiatives and completion gaps and where we're going to focus our attention in eliminating those completion gaps. So more to come on these topics, but please do save the dates. We will have this information posted on our website, ways to RSVP to make sure you're included in any materials and the like. And this is how we will move ahead with drafting the next iteration of the state plan for higher education. Questions, comments, concerns? One more thought to put on everybody's radar. We are already announcing we are going to do another Student Success Summit in 2025. So please do save the date for November 13th through 14th. It will likely follow a very similar format to what we just did last week. So please do put that on all of your presidents' calendars so that they are aware and we have those dates saved. Yes.
Emily, how is the mission statement review process going to fit in?
Great question. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Great question. So we've got two motivating elements, which is unusual. This is an unusual situation for us. We certainly have the state plan, but then we also have program review. And we have not done a mission statement review since before the pandemic. So we're trying to balance a schedule in which we can give institutions who have updated their mission statements in recent years the opportunity to come under a quick or truncated review for the purposes of program approval, and then a more in-depth mission statement review after the state plan is released. We recognize if we delay a mission statement review until really 2026, we're just kind of spinning our wheels when it comes to program review, because programs are so integral to an institution's mission and identity. So we're internally thinking through a mini review in the interim that will serve the immediate purpose around program review, and then a larger mission statement review after the state plan. That's not official, but that is what we are discussing internally. And what we will do is present a plan to our commissioners, likely at the December commission meeting, on what that looks like for their input, and then we'll probably bring it back to the Segmental Advisory Council.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If you have comments or feedback that you'd like to give us on that front, how does that feel? Let me just ask that now. How do you all think of that right now as a plan?
I would defer, I'll defer to Candace and Allison, and we'll get back to you with some comments. But I do know some of our institutions were concerned about waiting until 2026. Accreditation is happening for several, and that's the triggering factor for a lot of them to say, we haven't done our review or mission statement review since 2018, I think it was. And that length of time is causing some of my institutions a little angst about going forward with accreditation. And it's 6 years later since, and they're kind of ready, but we knew all of these pieces were moving rapidly.
Absolutely. I totally hear that. So noted. Thank you for sharing that. I will say that there is legislative interest, commissioner interest, Secretary Rye's interest. As institutions are thinking about their mission and identity, at this point, it is all about institutional distinction and figuring out where institutions land in terms of capacity and where they want to go. So institutional distinction is a big piece to any future mission statement reviews that we conduct. The community colleges are slightly different. The community colleges have kind of a universal mission statement, a mission to serve the communities that they operate in, but there still are some distinctions. You know, what happens in the greater Baltimore city area is different than the needs on the eastern or western part of the state. So there are still some institutional distinctions, but we do recognize the community colleges have a global common mission. So really that's a comment for our public warriors. And for our private and independent institutions, even though we don't have purview over their missions and identity, something to be thinking about in the broader ecosystem of higher education in Maryland. Okay. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Secretary Rye for any other comments. Oh, we do have member updates. Do we want to just do a quick round robin? Dr. Keyes, could I look to you at Morgan for any updates?
No updates today. We're looking forward to Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. Dr. Randall from MAC?
This week, on Thursday, we will be at Howard Community College, where we will have our ribbon cutting ceremony to open our first cyber workforce accelerator project. Governor Moore will be there to cut that ribbon, and more to come. So this is our first center that we will have, first of 16. So we're really excited. We're really excited to see the governor and him give acknowledgement to the work that we're doing to close that gap when it comes to cyber security jobs here in the state. So that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Dr. Gant from St. Mary's.
Hi, everyone. It continues to be a very busy year at SMCM. We are finalizing our self-study for our Middle States reaccreditation. Everybody send your good thoughts my way, please. And we're also moving forward with our presidential search. President Jordan retires at the end of this year, so it's a very busy year on campus. And we are also, Dr. Keyes, looking forward to Thanksgiving.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gant. President Power.
Just quickly, we have our two-day board meeting Thursday and Friday this week, and among other guests, we have the vice chair of the commission coming to speak. Dr. Phillips is coming, as well as the chancellor. So we're looking forward to some great discussions with our segment heads. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Dr. Lee from USM.
Also board meeting at the end of this week for the system, institutions, and the Board of Regents. And I'll just offer our thanks to MHEC and all involved in planning the summit last week. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. So with that, Secretary Rye, I turn it back over to you.
Well, again, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I can't thank you all enough for what you do every day to help our students, especially coming together 2 days at the summit. I know it's full day, and then Thursday also a lot of your time. but a very productive conversation, collaboration, and that's the only way we can move forward. Again, let's make it very clear. When you do these things, there will be communication gaps and sometimes misunderstanding and things like that. You heard from me again and again, these are draft goals. And we have come to these goals through collaboration, through your input. It just didn't come from this space. And they are very similar to what other states in the country who are ahead, unfortunately, are there, right? So we are but trying to see what makes sense for Maryland. Nothing will become final until all of us are together and we say, okay, we understand our situation, we understand our community, we understand our data, and this is how we are going to say these are 3 or 4 goals, and we will work in the next 10 years to make progress, just like we made excellent progress over the last 10 years. In no way it is criticism of what we have done in last 10 years. Sometimes it may sound like that. But if you look at our messages or presentations, it's all saying that we had tremendous success, we have a strong foundation, and we are going to build upon those foundations. So this is how we will move forward. And you will all please work with Derek with the bill, any language, anything, if you want to change, I think this is the time to give him input. And the bill should exactly reflect what we are trying to do. Coming to Howard Community College, Monica, we are looking forward to being there. But this is cyber range, making our cybersecurity students more employable. So this is the first, but we expect to see at other 16 community colleges. So making sure that the students have access to high quality programs across the state to fill all these cybersecurity jobs that are out there. So, and I'll be speaking to your presidents that day too. So that's a great opportunity. And please, invite me to others also. If you want me to come and speak to your board of trustees or your governance group, I'm happy to be wherever it's helpful. And Matt, I know our Commissioner Agu is going to be there, and he's architect of a lot of this. So it's good to have him there. I'm sure he will be able to address things. Again, let's collaborate, let's communicate together. If there is any confusion, let's talk among ourselves and resolve them. Thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Just a reminder, our next meeting is January 13th. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.